see the pop-up that the recording has started. And yes, there is nothing else to say instead of thank you, Mahmoud, that you are here today. Thank you for your time, even if it's late for some of us. We are really grateful to have you here, and the stage is yours. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Let me share my portion of my screen. Do you guys see my screen?
Loading, but
No.
yes, I can see your screen.
Everybody is okay with the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it. As I thought, it's going to be a friendly session, just introduction to ArcVis inside of real time, show the real time.
That was a moment. Mahmoud, your screen share was closed.
I didn't close anything.
Oh, please share again.
Now?
Yeah, back again.
Okay, back again. Perfect. So as I said, it's going to be a friendly showing a workflow about the ArcVis industry. And we are not just talking about ArcVis, it's the same process that is going to be also implemented in any type of visualization, product visualization, furniture visualization, or even architecture visualization. Now, most of the time, people think of visualization of architecture is just like a room implemented with some interior of it. It can be expanded more than that. It's going to be a building, it's going to be even neighborhood, or even be cities now. You can implement it inside of a gaming engine. And you hear so much about gaming engine that been used now inside of AEC industry due to the reason that the game engine start to implement photorealism inside of the real-time domain. This was a big change for all people. Most of the people like me, the people who are architect or the people who are working in the visualization industry, tend to seek photorealism in their output. And the reason, if the virtual output is going to be implemented and going to be imitate in the real world accurately. So photorealism has a huge, or the main factors why people are always seeking for it. Now, real time by itself has been revolutionized by itself in terms of creating a content, and due to two facts mainly. The first fact is the efficient way. Efficient ways in terms of cost efficient, efficient way in terms of time efficiency. You can create fastly and visualize your own design through images, through videos, or through interactive application. And this can to be a fast processes in compared to an offline rendering. And the second factor is now what people are more interested in is that real-time application or real-time gaming engine is able to do what we call it a digital twin. And digital twin basically is getting some entities from real worlds, bring it back inside of our virtual worlds, driven by some information. And an example for it is going to be, for example, like Tesla manufacturing. So if you want to see the whole manufacturing process, how the cars will be going to be manufactured, how going to be produced, what each employee will going to be done. This is what we call digital twin. Or an example of architecture, if you are designing an airport and you want to see the movement of your own airplanes, the movement of the aviations, how the employees, how the movement of the crowd, of the passenger is going to be. This is nowadays is possible through Unreal Engine. I'm going to show a small demo from a big event from Unreal Engine called Build Architecture. This is just 2-minute demo. What's going to be, I'm going just to make it optimized for video clip, should be now done. As you can see, like Unreal Engine is much more, or real-time is much more than just images and videos. It can be more for application, interactive apps. It's going to be more shareable collaboration apps between different parties. And Unreal and Epic Games by itself provide 3 main tools related to ArcViz. The first tools, the most popular tools according to CG Architect survey last year, was Unreal Engine. Then it comes Twinmotion after it, and now with the possibility or the collaboration with Capturing Reality, or as the software its name, Reality Capture, you can now have it's the best invention in terms of having photogrammetries, which allows you to use a drone, which allows you to use LiDAR scanning or photograph in order to capture an existing world and bring it back inside of your virtual worlds. We're going to talk now about 2 main applications, Unreal Engine and Twinmotion, because they are going to be part of our 5 days workshops. The question is, do you need to learn I need to learn both of them, or one of them is enough? Unreal Engine by itself is more than enough, but for people who doesn't want to be bombarded with the complexity of real-time software like Unreal Engine, Twinmotion provides an easy, flexible, more efficient way of working. And if you want to take it more nudge, you can always bridge between Twinmotion or an Unreal Engine. Now, Unreal Engine in Twinmotion, in my opinions, what's make it more useful, it's simplest, more way of harness the power of our Unreal Engine. So if you want to have a start in terms of real-time gaming engine, Twinmotion is a good start. It's 1-day learning software. It allows you to have and connect multiple datasmith files. So which means if I'm designing a neighborhood and I have my landscape in one file and my buildings in another files, I can always merge all of them in Twinmotion through a direct linking. It has an accurate visual quality. Nowadays, with the technology of path tracing using all your GPU hardware capabilities, you will able to have an accurate and high visual representation of your light, of your shadows, and your refraction and reflection of your materials. It also contains a large library of objects, materials, and elements, and it's a flexible way in terms of the workflow by itself. It's like dragging and dropping elements inside of it. This last part is the variation of the presentation methods. It's the output. It provides multiple output in terms of images, in terms of videos, in terms of VR or immersive panoramas. And also it provides the capability of using a cloud to be able to share it with a stakeholder or to share it with the real estate agencies and simultaneously working with them. Now, the downside of Twinmotion is Twinmotion by itself is not free of use software, okay? Which means it's commercially is not allowable. The free trial version of it, doesn't has any expiration days. Its maximum that you provide is 2Ks, but there is something is not clear for me. You always can have the possibility to have your own scene composed and prepared inside of your Twinmotion and then bridge it inside of your Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine by itself is commercially free to use under 100K. So the question is people capable when I'm switching from Twinmotion to Unreal Engine to use it commercially or not? I don't have an accurate answer through this, okay? Twinmotion, I will show to you how it works by itself, okay? This is scene, we will compose it. What you need to do in easier, most accurate terms is you need to implement your own models. And this is through a direct link or through Datasmith exporter plugins. You can import many objects inside of it. Once your object ready, once your object is already prepared inside of your DCC software or inside your BIM or inside of your CAD software, all you need to do is you need to beautify your own scene and compose your own scene. The beauty of Twinmotion, it provides you with a large library of pre-made materials and elements. This is not existing inside of Unreal Engine. You need to go through your marketplace and prepare them, or prepare them as a template that you are going to use each time. So here you have a large panel of your own objects. You can see here you have a pre-made materials, and all the materials has been categorized according to what types of buildings family, I would say, is from glasses, metal to stones. You will have multiple objects, and those objects are all high quality objects made to be used inside of Twinmotion, and also made to be used once you export them to be to work inside of Unreal Engine. This is an interior library of it. So you don't need to go through the hex of going through the marketplace. Beside the materials, beside the pre-made objects, you have the possibility also to have the Quixel Megascan libraries. The same Quixel Megascan that you see inside of Unreal Engine through the bridge, it's already implemented inside of your Twinmotion. The way it works, basically, these libraries, once you have your own scene, all you need to do is you need to choose your element, and from there you need to drag and drop it. And drag and drop happens through two things. Happens through the whole families, because when you import your own scene from BIM software, it categorizes them according to family types. Family types means walls, floors, ceiling, glasses, everything. Or you can through them and implement them object by object. And from here, you can decide how you want to do it. Okay. Do I want to replace material or apply it just for an individual object? Once you need it, just drag it and drop it. That's it. Okay. The second part of it, of implementing any kinds of element, is the same places. You need to find your own object. You need to find what's fit for you. Okay. I'll share like chair, just drag and drop. Okay. This is an easy way to populate and dress your own scene. Okay. And the reason why people are using Twinmotion, not just for flexibility, but it's for rapid decision. So if I'm working as a designer and I want to have an accurate or fast decision of whether my design will going to be fit my need or going not to be fit my need, Twinmotion is an easier way to do it. As I said, it's a drag and dropping and contain a large libraries of elements. Now, the second part of people are mostly interested is lighting. Twinmotion provide 3 types of lightings. The similar way as we have in Unreal Engine, we have the dynamic sky lighting or the environment light mix. We will have it here, but in smaller way. Once you need to go here, sorry, this is not, sorry. Once you go through the eyes, you have your own sign and you can switch the daytimes and you will have an accurate representation of what you need. Okay. You will have also inside of Twinmotion the possibility of using more than 300 for free HDR environment plate. They already implemented inside of Twinmotion. Okay. What you need to do is you need to switch your lighting system. Instead of using your dynamic light, you go for skylight, HDRI, and then choose the HDRI that fits your needs, download it and drag and drop it, and it's going to be updated according to it. Just go here, go to your more, you'll see your drag and drops, drag it and drop it. Okay. Now, lots of people have been questioning the quality of Twinmotion is less than the quality of Unreal Engine, which is correctly right. Okay. In terms of the reflections, in terms of the shadowings, you can see there is a difference between them. But once you implement path tracing, just by clicking here, you will have more an accurate representation of what you have. Now I'm using not correct sky, but if I post it here, if I go back again to my dynamic light, okay, You can see, I know it was like this. And now if I pause it, I will have a correct shadowing, I will have a correct reflection and a correct light representation and material representation for me. Now, in terms of timing, path tracing is relatively fast in compared to Corona GPU or V-Ray GPU or any kind of offline rendering. So it's not a downside of using path tracing for it. As I said, there is two types of ArcViz normally. ArcViz pictures that been used mostly for commercial use or for selling your own product. Those need to be a high quality, accurate representation. And ArcViz that been used also to take a decision inside of the design process. This the one from inside design process, it doesn't need a high quality or accurate fidelity of it. Now, beside these libraries, you'll also have the library of Sketchfab. Sketchfab is a website, provide mostly photogrammetry objects or object has been made by people. You can take them, implement a completed scene, and then implement it inside of your own scene by itself. Things that makes Twinmotion more applicable for people or make Twinmotion more in need is Twinmotion also has the capability of using geospatial information, not the same way that Cesium do, but you can, if you want to have your own context for your own project, you can go here and you can then say urban and search for your place. So if I go here and I say Berlin, where I am now, okay, I can have just a border where I want to have my own, for example, if I said this is my land, I can have a border, whereas my own context, and then I can say grab it, and then it will give me a model relatively with the accurate height, I would say, but it's not going to be similar way as Cesium. Cesium will provide you with more texture, will provide you with more material or more accurate representation of your own context. The second part of it is why Twinmotion has been also been implemented, because it's provide you with a way to simulate crowd, simulate vehicle movement, and simulate people. So if I go here and I go path, and I decided like I want to see how, if I have a design, for example, of a bridge or of a cities, and I want to see the workflow or the movement of people or the movement of my vehicles, all I need to do is drawing a path, represented my own places here, and it will generate automatically for me cars. So once it needed, it's already going to be taking movement, and you can control the width of it, you can control the density of it, the direction of it, and everything. You can also, like you have a pedestrian types of it, you can go from pathings here. I would say I have characters, let's say here people is walking, so you can have a representation of how the movement is going to be done. Okay. This has been more powerful inside of Twinmotion. The last part is I am capable of having a different type of presentation. I can have images, panoramas, videos. I can have phases. Phases means if I am doing renovation for an old buildings and I want to have the phase of the state of my building, the phase is what's going to be broken, and the phase is what's going to be new implemented, then you can show it inside of phasing. You're going to have as a presentation and upload your presentation as a cloud through Epic Cloud and show it to your own client. The workflow normally from Unreal Engine inside to from Twinmotion inside to Unreal Engine nowadays is easily with Datasmith bridge. You can have export to Datasmith, and then you need to install from your own marketplace Datasmith for Twinmotion. Once you install it, you will have these plugins, and it will bring automatically everything's related to your own scene, from actors, from materials, from lighting situation, even from black plate. So if you want to take your own models and you want to do an interactive application through it, and you don't do a blueprint element, interactive element, you can do it easily. This is where you can set up your whole composition, set up your home models, and bring it back inside of your Unreal Engine. Now, also the new Twinmotion came 2 months ago, provide also for people who are working in a product design and working in furniture design. There's a set of pre-made virtual home studio, or not home studio, virtual lighting studios for your own products. All you need to do is bring in your product, apply your own materials on the whole set with the lighting, with the gobo effects is already ready to be used. Okay, just loading it. Is there any question while loading?
There is one question from the audience, from Marcel. He asks about a good water system in Twinmotion, but you can't show it, of course, if Twinmotion is still loading something else. So
okay,
maybe we can skip this for later.
This is the water system. It's basically a shader, water shader here.
Mm.
It's just a material, and the material have a noise movement inside of it. Okay, this is the water system from it. Okay, but it doesn't simulate water. I mean, it doesn't simulate, as long as I know, it doesn't simulate water in terms of particles, in terms of foams, in terms of object collide with the water.
Okay, so sorry, so no water interaction actually.
No.
Just a plane.
Yes.
Just the plane with the water. Okay, this is now here, as I said, this now here is your own scene. Okay, the whole scene is set up with the light, with the gobo effect that you can switch it, and you can have the different studio setup. You just need, like, you know, switch the studio setups, switch your own lightings, and everything is prepared. So drag and drop, basically. This is now everything's related to Twinmotion. The things is Twinmotion. I will show you, there's a graph from CG Architect. It shows you how the Twinmotion to Unreal Engine has been collaborated. Normally, you start all your model through BIM software, including DCC software, 3ds Max, SketchUp, Rhino, Revit, and then you have two choices. Either I take the datasmith directly to Unreal Engine, or I will start everything inside of my Twinmotion, prepare my composition, prepare materials, since they are already made, prepare my element, and then I have two choices. The only output, this is the output that I can get from Twinmotion. If my output is basically just a visualization, images and videos, it's fine. If I want to have shareable experience with my clients, you can do it through the clouds. If you want to have simulation for your pedestrian vehicle, or if you have VR immersive output, we are talking about Panorama 360. But if you want to have more nudge, you want to go from Twinmotion inside of Unreal Engine. What it's extra that it's still not capable of Twinmotion is doing digital twin, as we said, this simulation, doing virtual collaboration. Virtual collaboration basically means I have my set, and I have my VRs, and I have my avatars, and we are working inside of our set using our avatars. Digital training or sales configurator. For example, I have a buildings, and each building contains houses. Once I click on the houses, it shows me the plan of it. It shows me how square meters, the area of it, how much the pricing of it. I can do it. It's not sales configurator. It's much more, let's say, element configurator. It's similar to the way when you do automotive through Unreal Engine. When you press on any element, you can switch it, you can switch color, you can switch and give more information about it. Or if you want to have something like custom application, interactive application. Okay. So this is normally how Twinmotion works. Now let's talk about Unreal Engine. How is the pipeline inside of Unreal?
There is one last question for the Twinmotion topic. So Winfried, maybe you just come up, unmute yourself, and ask the question directly to Mahmoud, if this is okay for you.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's possible. You showed a piece of map from Berlin, and I wondered if it's possible to geolocate any assets in terms of a geographic coordinate system, like with longitude and latitude, as it's possible, as I know, in Cesium. That's one option, or in the S3 plugin for Unreal. There is also an option to exactly reference a building or any BIM model in the real world.
I'm not sure, so I don't give you a false indication. I'm not sure. As long as I know, most of your geospatial data that you have is basically just a screen capture of satellite here. You don't have an accurate representation as in Cesium or Emery or any other city engine, for example. Okay. This is as long as I know. I'm not sure if there is any kind of plugins. I'm not sure. I know that Logan here, he has some tutorials related to geospatial inside of YouTube, as far as I know. But this is
okay.
Okay.
That looks like it. Yeah, it's only possible with additional plugins to georeference any entities exactly in a scene. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anyway,
I'm not sure. I've never used it before, so I don't want to give you a false answer from it.
We can also save this for later. Logan, you already wrote in the chat that you will put in the link here in the chat. So at the end of the presentation, if there is still some time, maybe you just come up and show it to us if this fits in the time frame. But for now, I think that's a good point to go on the presentation.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Thank you, Winfred. Okay, how is normally the pipeline inside of Unreal Engine? Okay, it's like the same pipeline for any kind of ArcViz. You import your model or you build your model. Rarely you build your model inside of Unreal Engine, but mostly you import it, you prepare the models from your DCC software or from your BIM software. And then once it's ready from your datasmith or from as an FBX file, what you need to do is you need to set up your mood, your atmosphere, just a natural light. As we said, we are aiming for photorealism. We are not aiming for cinematic outlook. It depends on what's your purpose. Once I do it, I go through the process of beautifying my own scene. Beautifying in terms of creating all the necessary materials for all my objects, creating the left of artificial lighting, dressing my scene with elementary objects, and then I will go and work on my world buildings. And yes, AEC is part of world buildings. World building is a large terminology. It's mostly for gaming, for film, for ArcViz, because at the end of the day, you are doing cities or you are doing neighborhoods, which is basically an environment designs. And once I have my buildings, it can be set up in a city, it can be set up on a cliff, it can be set up near the sea. So you need to be also aware what tools Unreal Engine provide you to be able to implement your own world buildings and build it from it. Once I do this, I will go for the cinematic outlook, preparing my cameras, preparing my sequences. If my output is going to be images and videos, this is the way to go. If it's my output is going to be an interactive way, then I'm going to go inside of blueprinting, writing a script, doing my UI inside of Unreal Engine and preparing my applications. Okay, and this is the output of it. Either, as we said visual representation, or it's going to be an interactive, playable experience from it. And because of ArcViz is part of world buildings, there is this huge schematic or diagram from Epic Games. This is not done by me. This is a part of learning path inside Epic Game development communities. I would refer it for you here. This is a huge series, but it shows you a structure of every part of Unreal Engine, and it's recommended to be seen of it. I will talk about the world building of it, what kind of tools, what kind of elements inside of it, as I understand it. So in the center of everything's normally, whether an ArcVis scene, whether environment scene, we have, sorry, let me have it in more high resolution one, this one. In the center of everything, we have our level design, okay? Our world buildings, we're going to be inside of our levels, and our level is an actor inside of our content browser. Sorry, is there a question?
I think it was just an audio issue.
No way. Okay, and inside of our level, as we said, it's part of our content browser. There where you house your models, you house your materials, you house your own elements. Once you compose your own scenes, once you have your own scenes, the output in terms of Unreal, we call it playable experience. Playable experience could be images, could be videos, could be interactive application, gaming applications. And what's helped, and the main factor, like mainly, is to compose your own scene, to populate your own level. We call it in Unreal, as we know, an actors. And actors in Unreal is split in 3 main categories. We call the first categories is placeable actor, but excluded mesh actors. This is done inside of Unreal. This is done, you don't need any kind of outsourcing or doing in DCC and then bring it. And basically, this could be an audio actor, could be a particles actor, an emitter actors, reflection capture, if you want to capture your own environment at some point during recomputed lighting. It could be lighting elements, or the artificial lighting element, whether it's static or whether it's dynamic. It could be volume that trigger any kind of actions, and this volume can be edited through geometry editing or through modeling tools. It could be blueprintings that host any kind of gameplay, that host any kind of functionalities. It could be a gameplay. And it could be a level instancing, as we learned through EMEAs. So we can have a level inside of a level inside of a level. Those are done inside of Unreal Engine. The second types of actor, what we call it, mesh actors. And mesh actors normally is basically split into 2 categories: static mesh and skeletal mesh. Skeletal mesh, any types of object that contains rigging and skinning systems, or any pre-clipped animations. Static mesh has different types. Chaos, when I do any kind of destruction simulation, all those debris, all those elements considered to be static mesh. It can be HLOD, it can be an instance static mesh, spline, or a nanite object. Through Unreal Engine 5, they implemented also a suite of 3D tools that allows you to have your own static mesh from Unreal Engine themselves. We have now the modeling tool, the UV tools, the dynamic mesh, and mesh simplifications. All those mesh actors, both the placeable mesh actor and non-mesh actors, they can be manipulated, they can be edited through what we call it details panels, as we know. And those each actor has the ability to be, or let's say, if each actor is going to be activated through 1 file per actors, now we have each actors by itself, and we can control it individually, or we can switch it through data layer. The third types, or the third category of our actors, what we call it world buildings plugins mostly. These plugins will allow me to sculpt terrain, to sculpt landscaping, to adjust my atmosphere, to implement water's body. We have foliages tool. A foliages tool is more than just a vegetation tool. It can be implemented to populate different kind of objects. And it's split inside to 3 parts. We have the foliage tool, we have the grass tool materials, and we have the procedural foliages. The landscape, as we already know, and the landscape plugins through the landmass plugins split in 3 categories. We have the landscape spline, the landmass plugins, and landscape brushes. And then we have the environment light mixer, which allows me to control my own sky. And then we have the water workflow inside of Unreal Engine. Now, once I have all my actors inside of my level, I am capable of controlling it through controllers. I can now control my level, whether should it be in one level or is it going to be in a scale of a city. Then I want to use word partitioning. Is my level going to have some sort of functionalities? Then I'm able to script or write some programming inside of my levels, adjusting my word properties. Having a variant manager, variance manager will allow me to switch between materials, will allow me to switch between scenes, switch between objects, and the sequencers and environment light mixers. Once everything's set up, once everything has been composed inside of my scenes, I need to rebuild it in some sort of way. And this rebuilding, I might need to make landscape terrain. I want to make recomputed lights. If I'm going for static lights, maybe I need to recompute shadowings or generating HLOD for my for my levels by itself. Once I did this, rebuilding can be also an automated function. Once I have my own rebuilding scenes, I need to profile it, and profile it basically debug it. Is there any draw calls in it? Does it work according to the frame rates I'm aiming for? Is there any kind of issue? Any flickering inside of my sequence? All those tools will help me to be able to optimize my own scene and to have the output I'm aiming for. Those all, once you understand it, once you understand this workflow, what's inside of Unreal, you'll be able to structure the scene according to that. Okay. Any question related to this? You can have it. Okay. Now, after this, I need to do how the process will be started. The process will be started normally through DataSmith application. And DataSmith, as we said, it's a plugins. And why need to use it? We need to use it for multiple reasons. First, real-time rendering has some sort of constraint. What types of data format going to be implemented from the DCC software inside of our Unreal Engine? Is my model by itself optimized, or do I need to optimize it in our scenes? The conversion of properties, geometries, materials, lighting. An example for that, most of ArcViz people work in Chaos V-Ray or Corona renderer. Both render engine are not applicable through Unreal. Do I need to switch all my materials inside of Unreal? Or do I need to switch it from the beginning using standard material or physical material inside of 3ds Max? Different purposes why you need to clean up. You need to clean up your own scene. Am I aiming for gaming production? Am I aiming for something going to be constructed? Or am I going to be for something going to be manufactured? Also, most of our scene inside of CAD or DCC application needs to contain the scene hierarchies and contains its own location, its own positioning through their pivot points. Now, the DataSmith exporter or DataSmith plugins, you can download it, and it's applicable nowadays with this all software. I guess they increase it, more of them. And the way that for DCC software, there is what we call DS exporter, DataSmith scene exporter, and this is the file format of it. So you need to take your own seed, you need to export it in DataSmith format, containing all your texturing, containing all your properties, and then bring it inside of Unreal Engine. For CAD application in terms of NURBS application like Rhinos, like Inventor, SolidWorks, CATIA, all of them are natively read by DataSmith. So there is no format of DataSmith. So if I have a Rhino, the native files by itself is going to be implemented inside of Datasmith exporter and going to be work inside of Unreal Engine. Now, there is some application like ArchiCAD, like Revit, that's allow you to have a direct linkage between your DC software or between your BIM software and your Unreal Engine. All what you need to do, for example, I have this scene inside of my Revit. All you need to do is you need to go through your Datasmith. You need to have a connection here implemented. Go to your Unreal Engine. I will go for new level, ArcVis empty here. Okay. And then you need to activate your Datasmith plugins. Okay. Should be, if you are using ArcVis.
Wait a moment. I don't know if you, we just, now the Datasmith plugin come up. I don't know if there was a problem with the stream, but hopefully now it works. We see everything.
Okay. Now, once your Datasmith plugins already activated, normally it's activated if you are using the ArcVis template by itself. Once you activate it, you need to go here and you go Datasmith and you set like direct linked import. Then you will find your own scene and then you will select it and by itself should be loaded. I will go here. Another connection now here. This is my connection.
In the meantime, where it's loading, can I ask you a question out from the audience?
Yes.
So Winfried came up again and asked if it also support IFC, so Industry Foundation Class.
Yes.
Import.
Yes, it's supported. Yeah, there is IFC.
Short, loud, and clear, Winfried. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, in all versions, 3, 4, and so on.
I'm not sure. I don't work.
Okay, but in general, it's supported.
I know it's supported.
Okay, that's great to know.
Okay, this is the direct linkage between them and any editing inside of your software. If I'm, for example, I'm editing my own model, change it. Let's make it smaller. And then I just save it, don't attach it, save it. It's going to be directly adjusted inside of my Unreal Engine. Yet now, do you see it?
Yes, we see everything. It's maybe just because you share only the application. I don't know.
No, because I'm opening 8 applications at the same time.
Got it. But we see everything.
So I'm just going to make it more easier. I'm going to close all my twin motion. Okay. So to make it easier for people to be to not have cut streaming. Okay. So this is the way you can implement your own workflow. So now, once I have it, when I have my DCC, normally the pipeline is easy. You will have it through your DCC or you'll have it through your CAD software and through the Datasmith importer is going to be implemented inside of your content browser, preserved all the hierarchy inside of your outline. And the hierarchy will be taken according to what software you are using. Okay. So this is the pipelines from Datasmith. Import, translating your data. If my data came from NERP system files, it might need to be tessellated, might to be generating static mesh from it. The density of my mesh will be to be readjusted. If it's not, I go directly through my hierarchy. If there's a hidden element, I can be removed. If there is unstructured hierarchy, it can be flattened, it can be merged together. Once I have my hierarchy and everything's ready, I need to check out and improve my own models. If my models has contained any flipped faces, flipped normals, any kind of material elements, bumps, holes need to be closed, I can do them through modeling tools. Then I need to see, do I need to generate proxies, LODs, nanite from them as an optimized ways, and then go through the process of beautifying them, material, UV, all the generation, all the variant generation. Then we have these hierarchies. And as I said, like DataSmith create a hierarchy of parents and child actors inside of your Unreal Engine. And this depends on your software. Some DCC software, some CAD application will let you help with the process, minimizing unwanted surprising or minimizing unwanted structures. And if you're capable of doing that, for example, in Max, you can do all your layering, grouping, converting your CAD elements as a block element, having a dummy that's that attached to your own objects, or and adjusting your own pivot point. I will have a different kind of software here. So we have Max software, as it's the most popular software for ArcViz. In a Max software, most of the hierarchies from the layer is going to be preserved. Okay, and to make it easier for you, it's going to be preserved inside of the layer windows in Unreal Engine, but to make it more applicable and readable inside of your outliner, what you need to do is you need to group all your elements, because once you group it, you will have a subcategory inside of your outliner. You need to rename, use the rename tools to adapt a naming convention as a SM underscore static mesh, material M underscore, that we know it. We need to make sure all my pivot points are basically center in the page. And in case I'm editing to my elements has been scaled incorrectly and has been mirrored object, you need to do a reset XForm. Matter of fact, is more good practice to reset XForm for everything inside of it and then collapse it again. Things to be understandable, all the instance object inside of 3ds Max will be created as a single static mesh inside of Unreal Engine. If you want to go not through the DataSmith, you have also the possibility through the FBX exporters. You need to be aware of multiple things. You need to have a correct unit, to have no flipped normals, no n-gon, because as we know that Unreal Engine is a gaming engine using triangulated, so you need to avoid them as possible. No polar polygons, modifier, reset XForm, as you said, as a practice. Turbo smooth, avoid them as possible as you can. Pivot should be centralized. Material ID, physical material or standard material, please. UV map. This is, it matters if you want to have them correctly, you can do them easily inside of your DCC. If you don't want, we have the UV tools inside of Unreal Engine, or inside also of the modeling tools. Materials, as we said, standard materials, LOD, you can generate it here or in Unreal Engine. Naming convention is something important. Collision can be done here or there. And then you have some options through your FBX exporter. Once you want to have smoothing groups to be tangent, triangulated, and the unit of it. Once I have my object imported inside of Unreal Engine, you can generate collision. This is an auto. Vertex coloring, you need to ignore it. Generate light, map UV. This is if you know you are having an interactive application that you're not going to be depend on dynamic lighting. Vertex to combine meshes. This is also a way to minimize the draw calls or to optimize it. Normals should be import normals and tangent, converting yes, and the import material. Now, different software, BIM software have a different hierarchies, okay? It's not always able, for example, Revit or ArchiCAD. They do their own hierarchies according to family types. And this family types normally is already automated set of it. So your possibility of renaming or adjusting it will going to be limited, but Unreal Engine by itself will contain and preserve the hierarchy of the family groups. So if I go to my layer, I will see all the groups from Revit inside of my Unreal Engine. Some software like SketchUp, especially if you are using, for example, like a model from 3D warehouse, mostly the hierarchy are not really well constructed, in my opinions. It will be preserved as it is, but you need to apply a different kind of DataSmith process, and what we call it data preparation. And here the powerful way of optimizing and correcting your model from the outsource application. I will show an example. This is I have here for myself. I have this from 3D warehouse, and normally if you see here, you see that all of them has been grouped and have crazy namings and not understandable way of implementing. There is a way that I use normally through data preparation to optimize it, to prepare it and make it ready here. I will show it to you. So if I go now and I will go to my, I will go file, new level here. What you need to do is you need to right click and find from here data prep, data asset. I will contain it and I will say DP, data preparation, and say cabin. In normal form,
Tesoro, capito, arrivo.
I don't know. This is my data prep cabin. It has its own windows. Is there a question or somebody like floating? Or... I'm not sure. Okay, so let's import our model. What you need to do is import.
So there is a question on our chat, but I was not sure if this was Ricardo. So I told him that he just can unmute and ask the question, but
Yes.
there you
Hi,
are,
everyone.
Ricardo.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt, so
This is the way how it works. Don't be shy.
I told you interrupt me, please.
Okay, just a quick one, because I've heard that, but I don't remember if it's real or not. That in order to have better result with Lumen, it's better to have single boxes for each wall element and not having the a complex shape for all the walls all together. So I don't know if it's something that we have to be aware of, and then remodel all the walls to be just single boxes, or what?
I don't do this. You have two ways. You have different ways when you import your own datasmith. It's ask you, do you want to preserve the hierarchy of your file? Do you want to have the hierarchy according to materials, or as Unreal Engine do? Normally what I do, I know what you are saying. Normally what I do, if I have I know if I have instance wall, or if I have instance object inside of Unreal, inside of my Max or inside of my other software, I put for each of them different materials. I create a categories of materials, just a standard material with a different colorizing. And then when I import them inside of Unreal Engine, I import them according to the hierarchy of the materials by itself. Okay, this is one way you can do it. Otherwise, if you brought them, as you said, it's going to be like one kind of meshes. Sometimes if you are not doing your UV from DCC, it's going to be difficult here to correct it here.
Okay. So, but in your experience, if you have just a big complex shape, that is not just a box shape wall, doesn't create any artifacts or a problem with the illumination and lumen.
I didn't have any problem.
Okay, that's it.
Things that I did until now, no. I mean, if it's problem-wise, you always can fix it, because datasmith, as I said, once you import it, if you have any editing, you can edit it in your own software and then re-import it, and it's corrected accordingly. You don't need to repeat the whole process from the beginning. Okay, you just need to go here, right-click, re-import.
Re-import, yeah.
Okay, and if you have a direct link, it's already automated between the scenes. Now I have my data preparation. Data preparation is a lot crashy. Okay, hopefully not. One way, if it's crashed a lot with you, this is I learned from my colleague, what you need to do is you need to go to your own version and you need to verify your own Unreal Engine. Once the verification is happened, it again import your models. So I will import my datasmith files. I'll say this is my cabin, and hopefully say import, hopefully not gonna crash. Okay, perfect. So you see now here my data preparation, and you see the structure that it comes with it. This is as I said, it preserves the hierarchy of my SketchUp, which basically it's too much to be contained. You don't know where to work it. Data preparation will allow me to merge, to renames, and even to change material directly from it. Okay, I will start. Let's say, for example, I will start. I don't want those chairs. Those chairs, if I go here, I know they have this naming, the stool 1, stool 2. Okay, what I need to do is I need to set them. I need to use what we say actor label. Those not naming. If you said here right click and you say copy naming and you put here copy name, you will have a number. You need to categorizing according to labels. You need to right click and I say copy label. And then you say everything's inside of the group of copy of this tool selected. So you say select hierarchy and said here all descendant. And then I would want to say just delete it. So delete object. And once I say execute, now it's deleted from here. Now I start to optimize. Now I go through one by one. Okay, let's say I have those each stairs from me. Each stairs here, it has a group naming. It has group 11, 1, 2, 3. And I want to merge them together and rename as one object. So I go again. You can copy, paste it, take the naming, copy label, set it here. I don't want to delete them. I don't want to merge them. I use here merge. And I say name actors. I will say stairs. Okay, execute it. You don't need to execute one by one, but to show to you. Once you execute it, it sometimes remove the layers and it will generate for me a new object. It's merged, it's contained, and has its own materials. And I go through one by one to do them. Okay, I will go through them fastly. Let's say here, what I need to do is, again, I have my fences. Fences was group 6. This is my fences here. I want to have them, right click, Control V, copy labeling, see it, okay, and then name it as fences. Okay, I'm just going to go one by one.
I like how you click on the eyeball to check if this is correct and to show us that these are the fences. It's interesting to follow you. That's cool.
No, I mean, the naming is hard, and I'm writing the naming beside me, so
yeah, it's a super cool idea. I like it.
Okay, so because I did it before, and I'm checking the names. How is it? So I'm having group here. This was the walls from behind. Okay, I will say 13th. Make it as a wall. Okay, then we have our panels. Panels here, this panels here came in a Spanish name, grupo. Okay, so you have those panels. If I go here and I say each one panels, and each panels is inside of main categories panels, and then you have subcategories of it. So I need, for example, to merge all of them and then get rid of all the main or the hierarchy above it. So I go here, right click, Control C, Control V. Okay, I will take the naming. Everything has this names, descended, merge it, panels. Okay, and then at the same times, okay, I need to delete. I need to say start deleting. Let's start here. Executing. Now all my elements basically done. This is my panels, all of them as one. Sorry. Naming. Okay, now I go through and deleting. So I have this object that doesn't contain anything. It's a flying categories, and this categories has group 16, group 14, and then we have our panels, and then our panels was under group 1. So I need to remove all of those hierarchy one by one So going here, okay, say group 16, remove it, okay, everything's descended, just not merge it, delete it. Okay, then going back, I have group 14, 14. Then what we have also, we have the different panel, what we call this. Now, I will say here, give me the same naming. I'm getting rid of all the hierarchies. Now, when I say execute them, okay, it's execute all of them. Okay, now there is, I guess there's an object we deleted. I need to get rid of it. Our panels has been deleted. Oh, 10. Just remove you. Once even you get something's wrongs, you always can back again and see where it got. So group 14. Yeah. Okay. Okay. From group 16, I guess from group 16, I need to exclude my own tile. Okay. Fences, I would say again, Control C, Control V, group 16. Let me check it. Not all descended, just the naming. This was my mistake. Okay, just remove the name. Everything has contained this name. Because once I have everything's down there and my panels is part of it here, it's going to be removed from it. So I'm going here again, my group 14. Control V. I will take here the namings. Okay, and now when I execute it, I left it with a minimum amount of controllable elements, and still I can go now. Okay, I can have now, let me check. Still we have group 15 to be removed, 20 also, click. So 15. Those groups doesn't contain any kind of elements. You need just to go and remove them. Okay, and then I have a different types. Once I have it here, okay, now I have sort of group 17, but group 17 contains fences, panels, and I want to get them outside of this group. How do you do this? You do it like this. You can say Control 17. Okay, this is my group. And what I need now to do is I need to say all the hierarchy. So select hierarchy, everything's downward immediately. Then I will say actor label. And you can say here panels, copy label. But you don't say with it, you say here inverse filter, excluded from the groups down there. And I will do the same for my fences, right click, exclude it, and get my fences label. Okay. Now I have them. Now when I execute, okay, I'm getting rid of it. Oh no, I didn't do the merging. Sorry, I need to merge it. I need to merge all of them. So merge, and I would say here cabin pays. Okay, and now when I merge it, okay, this is my cabin completely. Okay, it contains my whole elements, and it contains now them all in one element with a different material IDs. Okay.
Okay, I probably got the dumbest question ever.
Yeah.
As a non-pro user here. For example, deleting these groups, group 14, 15, all these stuff. Why do you have to do this over the recipe? Why you just can't click in these data system on the right of your asset and just click on, I don't know.
You can use it. It contains lots of groups, contains lots of hierarchies. Finding your own object will not going to be easy. Sorting
Okay,
out.
got it.
Sorting
Okay.
out. You always have to be understanding, not just this element, you have also in the other elements in the scene, you have.
So first it looks like a lot of additional work to just delete a folder over the recipe, but in the end it's cleaner.
It's the end of the cleaner. This
Okay.
is why you have two options. Either I clean in DCC and I prepare it well, but also if you find an element in for free inside of 3D warehouse or an Turbo Squid and you want to use it, there is a way always to clean it. Okay. And as I said, like, for example, NERPs software like CAD software, like Rhinoceros, that depends on NERP system. Mostly you need to retessellate your own geometry because geometry has a different mode, not polygon, not triangulated. It depends on curve vectors and having surface in between these curves. So it has a different way. So data preparation is always one way of implementing everything.
You already got some applause from Logan.
Perfect. I know Logan is an expert here. He was one of the main mentors, the great mentor inside of the World Building Fellowship.
Got it.
Okay, so here I have it, and then I have my group 17. I take it, copy labeling here. Okay, and the last things I want to do is just remove it. I say delete object, and then I put it. And then I have my object basically cleaned now with all the elements that I need. And if you want to add the material, you want to have it as one object materials, all you need to do, you can have an actor layer, name get or actor labels, or not actor layer, actor labels, getting the main, naming, copy naming or copy label. And then you say add materials here. You can write it material. Okay. Set materials, and then I will set material for all of them. I can find not aluminum, some sort of just for base materials. I'm just gonna, for explanation, I'm gonna put this one here. Okay, just when it's executed, and now all my object should, oh, this was my mistake. You need to put here all, select hierarchy in between, everything's downward, and now executed, and should take this material. Okay, we don't need this material for it's already clean. Okay, once I have it, once everything is fine, I say now commit. And what does it do? It generates for me my scene here. It generates for me a level, and it generates for me my data smith and my data prep asset. So if I want to re-edit it, I can go back to my data, edit it, re-import it. All the structure is going to be there. If I have anything to be modified, I will do this. If not, I can just simply work on it. Okay, and now you see inside of your own outliner a simple structure that you can work from it. Okay, now normal way what I do, or the way that we do as an archivist people, we have a library of materials. Okay, Unreal Engine doesn't have this possibility or have like a pre-made library that you can buy it or plugins. There is some of them inside of marketing marketplace. But what I do in a normal way, I do master material, and I do it according to categories. I know that I have some things related to metals, some things related to translucent, to glasses, and any kind of texture material, wood, beton, concrete, all those material. And this is how the way I do it. Each categories I will do a master material, and then from it I will generate an instances and work on it. I will show how I structured. I'm not going to create it from beginning, but one thing I also learned today, that the new fix, when you say new levels, it comes with already pre-made material, master material. So if I go now to interior, okay, I'm not going to save it here, and you will find already pre-made material that you can use them. These are materials. So if you go here, you go to your master materials of them, and you can work from here, and you can switch it. Okay, this is one way. So if you don't, this is the way, as I said, you have one for base color, one for metallics, one for texturizing, translucent, and emissive lighting. This is the process of creating them. The way that I do them in a normal ways. So if I have my materials, I create a master materials. And I know from my experience as an ArcVis artist, I try to make my materials as controllable as I can. In a sense, I can do materials that I can manipulate each and every pixels. I know through my textures, I have now blank textures, but I know that I want to control my exposure brightness. So I implement a multiplier for it. And this multipliers will allow me to control my albedo brightness. And then I will do a power. A power allow me to control my contrast. This is the way I set it. Desaturation, oftentimes we have our textures and we need to desaturate it, and also we need to colorize it. You like the pattern of your wood, but you need to have it in a different colors, apply, multiply. I know from, as I said, we already have nodes inside of 3ds Max as a color correction, and this is the ways that I contain. And I also do it for each and every part of them. I do it for my color, for my ambient occlusion, the same concept, my roughness, and my normal mapping. And and here I have simple control for my metallics and specular. And anything else I need to add or exclude, I start from here. Besides that, you know that any kind of texturings you need to have it controllable. Controllable in a sense, you need to control the tilings, you need to control the scalabilities, the offset of it, and you need to control the rotation of it. So everything will be will be ready as a master material. And from there, I will generate material instances that I can work from it. This regardless mastering, one for metals. I also have the similar ways. I know metals sometimes have perfect materials or have some imperfection. I prepare it from it. Glasses the same and light the same. Everything's set up. We go through the lighting process. Lighting process, I guess Unreal Engine by itself, the environment light mix is powerful. Okay. It's by itself, it's overwhelming. Once you go here and you set up a light mixer, or not environment light mixer, this was, where was it? Environment light mixer. It's by itself, it's overwhelming, but it's super powerful if you understand it. And there is a lot of tutorials I recommend, William Foucher tutorials. They are so powerful. If you don't want this, there's another plugin that I highly recommend it. It's inside of Marketplace. It's called Ultra Dynamic Sky. An Ultra Dynamic Sky, everything you need it in one details panels, and it comes in two blueprinting. One blueprint that allow me to control my light, and one blueprint will allow me to control my weather and my atmosphere. So if I have any kind of snowing, any kind of sand effect, raining effect, it's always going to be generated, and it's one payment, and then you will have it forever. Okay, it's super powerful. I'm starting to use it, but as Unreal user, you also have to be aware of the environment light mixer and what's also have as artificial light variants. Once I do this, okay, to make it easy, once I do this, once I contain them, then it's related to our world buildings. World buildings in this scale here, what I have is basically is related to foliages tool. We know foliages tool as we know it from our EMEA trainings. So when you go to here, and then you can have your own foliages tool. Most of the elements I implemented from Quixel Megascan, convert them now to nanite. Okay, they have been prepared for it, and then from nanite I store them inside the foliages tool and start to populate my own vegetation. Okay, in the case I need, or I have like an environment related to, let's say, related to the sea or related to mountains, everything's, I will do my own landscape here. I don't prefer to do it outsources. This is a different things. You can do it in a software like a Word Machine or Word Creator and then bring it, but you need to be aware of the size of your height maps, or you can start sculpting and implementing inside of your scene. This is the general processing. Once everything is done, once everything is populated, it's all about going inside a few sequences and your cinematic. The things that also I prepared for our training is to make a small application in terms of level variant. What does that mean? So when I play it, when I simulate it, it will generate a small application. So if I want to see, or oftentimes the client demands you to see a different variant from materials, you can script it, program it. So if I go now to INCAS, okay, generate it. If I go to my living rooms, it's as simple UI as it is. You can now start to switch materials. Okay. No, this is the different scenes. Oh, I don't know. Let me, oh, this different scene. 1 second, sorry. Is there a question while I open the main scene?
Let me
Yeah.
check. There is a
This-
question from Marcel.
This is the scene. Hopefully this is the scene going here, living room. And now
So Marcel's question is related to the data prep part. So it was the question: is there a way to directly automatically set the pivot of each mesh when it's important?
to automatically set the pivot point of each mesh.
Mhm.
I am.
Sorry
I
if I maybe you said it's okay to interrupt you. That's why I interrupt you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sometimes I just forget. I'm working with Blender mainly. Sometimes when I export my scene, I just forget to set the pivots of each mesh to the center before. So yeah, I could go back and generate and export a Datasmith file again, but I just wonder if it's possible to do that within the Datasmith pipeline.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna check it with you. I don't have an accurate, but I'm gonna check it with you. Let me see where is my Datasmith, my cabin file here. Should be when I go to my cabin here, if there is any pivot point.
I mean, you could make a custom operator, but I actually didn't find a way to set a pivot.
I mean,
with
the
a
easiest
blueprint.
way also like to adjust your pivot point is through the modeling tool.
I know, it's just an extra step, but I'm just wondering. Sometimes you ask yourself a question.
It's a correct question, but I'm not sure if you can able to do it. I'm seeing now here.
Sorry, then just forget it, because I thought maybe you just got an answer for it, but I don't want to waste the time. You're showing really interesting stuff here.
We're close to the finish, so it's fine. But as I said, I'm not aware. I don't have. Maybe somebody at the chat has an answer, so I'm sorry for that.
Okay, thank you anyway.
No way. Okay, so this is our scenes. As I said, here I have my simulations. Once I run my applications, through the level variant managers, I can start making small application where I can be able to show a different way of presenting your own materials. So if I want to have a different presentation of my floors, I can program them. If I want to have different representation of my walls, I will see them. Okay. And lastly is the output. Normally, as an output, if I am seeking sequencers, I will have a standard way of render settings. I will show it to you. So if I'm going to, hope it's here, CLO. Okay, let me open my sequencer. Should be here, master sequences. This is our sequencer. Remove this. Okay, then if I'm going now to my sequencer, I go to my movie render queue after I set up all my camera and movie, and I put my configuration. I have some sort of pre-made settings that I always use. Okay, and this settings has been, to be honest, provided by my mentor in Unreal Engine. It's perfect. It's an easy to be used. I can just implement an EXR sequence or a BNG sequence. And if it's contain any kind of audios, I will implement an audio with it or wave audio with it. Then I will do my types of renderings. Okay. And most things that you need to be aware if you're anti-aliasing. I will have one spatial sampling for overall samplings, and then for temporal sample count, I will do it for 24. Don't exceed it. In my experience, when I ever exceed it, some of the movement or some of the movable elements will going to be frozen. 24 is a good start, but I also do warm-up frames for it. And I start with the warm-up frames for the rendering for the engine, like 128 frames. Right? So anything, if I'm switching from scene to another scene to enable not to have any kind of flickering, warm-up frames will allow me to set up the new scenes to be ready and then rendered. Color output, in the case of I'm using OCIO configurations, if you don't use it, if you don't going to do any kind of pre-production after it or post-production after it, then you don't need it. Console variable, there is a list of console variable also I get from different people. Motion blur qualities, for having my foliages to be accurate or to have it in high qualities, blooms and shadowings and the lumen reflection. And then of the last one that I always implemented is my game override. Basically because of the use of LOD0, this will demand that all my element, even if they are in the scenes in a lower LOD, to be while rendering to be in a high quality from it. And then I set up my output according to what I need, and I have my own everything's to be ready. This is normally the general overview or the general workflow that I do inside of my Unreal Engine. Okay. Now we can go for Q&A. If anybody has questions, I could help with it. Material parameter collection here.
Just unmute yourself. Holger, you unmute yourself right now. Hopefully you got set up your audio, or you just joined the session. I'm not sure. But I see that you try to connect with your audio device.
Logan,
otherwise, let's see if I have some questions in the chat.
I know, Logan, what do you mean by material parameter collection?
Hey, how you doing?
How do you
Oh, I'm just wondering if with your user interface, if you're doing it set up through using the material parameter collections instead of using or if you're using the variant manager,
I'm
like
using
you're
variant
switching.
manager. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I'm using here my variant managers, and I put here living rooms, and I put in here just a way to be able to switch my materials. Okay.
No, that's awesome. I've never actually used the variant manager with that. I've always hard coded in with parameter collections. And so that's why I was curious when you said that. So that's definitely why I love it. You always learn something new every day. Right?
Exactly.
Thanks so much for the presentation. Yeah, fantastic.
You're welcome.
Oh,
I owe you a lot. I learned from you a lot also.
I have to interrupt again.
Yeah.
Anyway, same here. Really nice presentation. But why do you hard code it, Logan? Because anyway, you could use erase. Just put it on the right side and put in whatever material you want.
Oh, that's what I meant with using the material parameter collection. Like it's basically the same setup as the variant manager, but it's just in like a different format, right? It's like, oh, I have the array of 3 colors instead of, I'm thinking more like I'm just changing albedo tint with a click of a button through changing the vector on the material parameter collection. Right, like on a wall instead of
that is what I'm also doing, and I always think I have to use the variant manager, but then I end up with the thing I always do. I maybe should have a look at the variant manager.
yeah, I think so.
I mean, it depends on what you are going to aim for your output. Is it going to be an application, or is it going to be just show or video or visual presentation? The variant manager, as long as I know, it's helpful to program it, to be able to use it and to make a small application out of it. The other material prom, I guess, more an easy way for you to switch between materials, as long as I know. So everything is depend on the needs or what purpose at the end of the day you want to have. Cool. More question, Christian.
There is one from Godwin. Hello, Godwin. Nice to see you here. And he asked, can you show the variant manager example again?
Yeah, I mean, this is here, just simples, and I go. Okay, now we have a lacking of my.
Yeah, perfect. That was my question. So that you do it a little bit slower, so probably the stream hangs. But if you're
Even for me, stream hanging.
if your machine hangs, that's
yeah,
not good for you, but it's okay that we don't see.
Yeah, I'm sure I need to just give me a second to at least minimize all those scenes that I don't need it anymore. Okay, opening 10,000 of file is not.
I'm still impressed that your machine is running.
Yeah, me too. So let's see. Okay, now just like I click it, I implemented that tabs as the main keys. Then I go for my categories, living rooms, and then I start here switching according to my variant manager. And this is UI is so simple. It's basically just to show the UI by itself, how it has been done. I used my widget from widget blueprinting here, and it's basically just this. It's a square, white square with a text above it, and each of them contains as panels. And from here, I started to do my own graph blueprinting and constructing bit by bit how everything should be done. Not a complex. I'm not a blueprint artist. I'm not a programmer, but something's at least to be able to help me achieve what I want to do. Okay.
Godwin, is this the thing you looked for? If he's still here, let's see. Okay.
Can you maybe also talk a bit about translucency and reflection of glass material? Okay, this has been a different part of it. I know that the Unreal Engine 5 has been the worst, the glass, always a pin. Yeah, exactly. I know that Unreal Engine 5.1, the new one, has fixed this lumen reflection issue with the glasses. Okay, still not perfectly accurate. If you want to aim for perfect accurate way, you go for path tracing. One way. What you need also to do, if you have your own volume or from your own settings, I normally go for my ray tracing as a reflection. So when I say here, lumen, okay, you can start implement reflection method to be lumen, but start to have it as a ray traced. Okay, ray tracing is more accurate than lumen in my opinion. Okay, you don't need it from here. You can do it from basically from post-process volume. So when I say post-process volumes, you can implement it, and from here I set my reflection. So when I go to my global illumination, okay, switch your reflection from lumen to be on ray tracing. Okay. This was always the best way. It's not really bad, but this is the way I do it. Okay, and to be honest, it worked until now. So it depends on how you do it. If you have the capabilities, then use path tracing. Path tracing by default, it's going to be more accurate. Hardware retracing also I tried it. It's also correctly good. Okay, but this is the general workflow from everything I know, from everything I learned from the artist community. Update again, we see everything.
That was just Volker. You still see the blueprint. So for me, everything works flawless on my side. So I see your stream and see everything. Logan also good
Perfect.
here.
Perfect.
Cool.
I mean, this is a huge issue with the translucent material. I know for a fact, for example, and I try to avoid as much as I know. I know for the fact that I have my curtain here. From the inside, they look correct. From the outside, if I'm going now, just like remove this, okay, or not remove it, just move it. Sometimes it's going to flicker. Okay, it depends on the way you also set up your own lighting. Okay, until now it's okay.
Okay.
Talk about the pointy cloud created by a ladder in drone. Does Unreal or DataSmith play nice? I have no answer. I'm with Winfred. I haven't worked with a ladder scanner, to be honest. I'm Android user. Reality capture, I didn't use it, so I cannot confirm to you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Just being curious.
Might be, I don't know.
Cool. Okay, thank you, Mahmoud. That was.
I'm gonna stop sharing it.
That was fast, intense, but also really, really, really interesting. And I will just shortly take over the screen share. So going from your course, from your glimpse to the keyhole from today, going through the course. It's a 5-day course, right? So just for me as a beginner, what can I expect in these 5 days? So I will share the link later. And yes, first it looks like a bunch of money here, but you get 5 days of training for this, and all of you here get a 50% voucher for our first batch. This is a community shout out. We have decided to give you something back for all your attention. And so going through the course, going through these days, I think everything we see today is part of the 5-day training, right?
Absolutely, but there's more details, more dense. And the output hopefully completed the project. I mean, the first day is going to be more about twin motion. So we take a twin motion step by step completely. As I said, it's 1-day learning software. And then from there, I will show from twin the workflow between both software. And then we start with Unreal Engine. We start as from somebody who doesn't know anything. So the first session is going to be an introduction, but more concentrated about the modeling tools, as we are going to be used a lot. The second session is going to be about DataSmith plus environmental tools. And this is going to be really dense.
This is a strong one, yeah.
And I know for a fact we're not going to achieve all of it, but we have the last day with a capstone project. I will keep adding above it. Then,
so for example, it's okay to know the basics about twin motion, but in the end of the course, I'm able to decide when I'm using twin motion for just, let's say, a rapid prototype or anything else, but basically the other 4 days are for Unreal purpose.
Absolutely. So I do them. Then second day is going to be about materials. As I said, I will show how to do master materials, to do them as a way in a templates that use them every times. Then we talk about lighting technique. And from there, we go for sequences and blueprinting. Blueprinting in the terms, first understanding what's blueprinting, then the needs for ArcViz, mostly scripting doors opening, light switchers, materials, and do some small application as we see it, like in terms of variant manager, switching my materials, automate those stuff. And then the last day we'll take everything we learned and we do it in a small project. I will be part of the project, but everybody will going to be able to do their own project. I have the models going to be given, and I will have some set of height maps, and everybody is allowed to do their own vision of it.
Got it. Okay, super interesting. We also have set up some course dates. Let's check about this later, but basically we have some dates. And yeah, that's it. So I will stop the presentation now, and I will stop the screen share.